I'm Denha, and you're watching FYI. To ensure our citizens are safe in the event of any emergency, city personnel are always keeping up to date on the latest safety protocols. Watch as the Ann Arbor Fire Department trains to combat dangerous fire emergencies.
The AAFD worked in conjunction with Oakland Community College to learn the best methods to extinguish flashover fires.
This training teaches firefighters fire behavior, and they actually experience a flashover, which is the combustion of all of the contents in the room at a single time. So this is a flashover in a controlled environment.
Inside the training trailer, firefighters will learn the warning signs to these life-threatening fire emergencies.
A flashover is where a compartment within the fire building, everything catches on fire at the same time. So once we reach a flashover, if firefighters are in there, our gear will start to fail, our air packs will start to fail. Some pre-flashover conditions are a significant change of heat. The smoke will start to become very thick. Visibility will decrease, and there'll also be what are called fingers of fire that'll start to move across the ceiling. The best thing that somebody can do to prevent a fire death in your house is make sure you've got working smoke detectors. The other thing we recommend is make sure that you have an escape plan.
Snow is in the air, and as soon as those white flakes accumulate, there's some need to know info for residents and business owners. Learn more about snow removal guidelines in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hello, my name is Robert Keller with the City of Ann Arbor. Winter means snow and ice, and that makes it hard for people to get around the city, especially pedestrians. So as a resident and business, you need to do your part and help clear your sidewalks of ice and snow. What does that mean? Well, for residents, it means any snow accumulation greater than 1 inch has to be cleared within 24 hours. If you're a business, any snow accumulation by 6 a.m. needs to be cleared by noon the same day. So help do your part. Clear your adjacent sidewalks, crosswalk ramps, and any concrete bus stops that may be adjacent to your property, and help make it easier for people to get around the great city of Ann Arbor.
For 5 years and 9 seasons, the Food Network has whipped up a recipe for success with the family-friendly Kids Baking Championship, where youngsters from all over the country amaze audiences with their culinary prowess. Joining me is Nemo Tsai, a sixth grader at Forsyth Middle School and a contestant on Food Network's Kids Baking Championship. Welcome to the show, Nemo.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Nemo, I'd like to know a little bit more about you because prior to being on the Food Network, you're a pretty decorated golfer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of my hobbies besides baking is golf, and golfing is pretty much my second life almost. And golfing, yeah, I love golfing.
So you were golfing, and then your family owns a restaurant in Ann Arbor, Godico, and you were sort of in the kitchen, right? At a young age.
Yeah. So how I started is my family owns a Japanese restaurant, Godico, in an Asian market side grocery, and I started making sushi and stir frying and working in the restaurant. And then when the pandemic started, we donated sushi to the U of M hospital. So I thought, why not send cookies with the sushi? So I started baking my first cookies to send with the sushi, and it just made me happy to be able to share that with others. And just my baking kind of grew from there.
So was this like an original recipe you created?
No, I started off just watching videos on YouTube, and then after that, before I went to actually film the show, I trained with Zingerman's Bakery, and that's where I learned my own recipes.
Well, it just amazes me that you just started baking. Like you literally, it's been less than a year of baking and you ended up on the Food Network for it. So do you consider yourself more of like a pastry chef now, or are you just more of like a golfer and a chef?
I mean, I bake a lot of different things, but I'm probably more of a golfer. I feel like baking is like the backup if golfing doesn't work, almost like. Yeah, but I definitely love baking as my second job, I guess.
Well, let's talk about how this all came about. So it's a pandemic. You're not in school. You're online school because that's where Ann Arbor's at right now. And so you decide you want to start baking. And then how do you end up applying for, or do you apply for to be a contestant on the Kids Baking Championship?
Yeah, so how I got on is although I've been in the restaurant my whole life, I've never imagined myself cooking or baking on a TV show. So it's such a surprise when a casting agent contacted my parents asking if we wanted to audition for the show. And they found me on our Instagram at Lilo Nemo, where my mom likes to post me working in the restaurant or just baking and cooking in general. And yeah, but the audition for the show was a lot different this year because of COVID. It was just a bunch of Zoom calls instead of live auditions where you're actually there cooking. And when they finalized everything, we went to LA and shot the show in August.
So let's talk about that first episode, being on that sound stage with Duff and Valerie. I mean, that had to have been so nerve-wracking because both of them are really big celebrities. We all know who both of these people are. Valerie, I mean, I think some of us grew up with her in our living rooms when we were younger. So how did it feel? I mean, you had to have been so nervous. I mean, you're just a child. I can't even imagine how I would feel in that situation.
Yeah, definitely. The first episode was definitely the worst. I went in there and I was all excited. I saw the judges and they're like, "Oh, you have to bake now." And I'm like, "What? I have to bake now?" And then it was just a lot of pressure. But I feel like golfing and just working in the restaurant kind of prepared me to work under that pressure on the show. So I think that was a big helper when I went actually on the show. But yeah, it was a lot of pressure and it was really nervous. But overall, it was a lot of fun.
Was this your first time being on TV at all?
Yeah, I think this was my first time actually being on TV. Yeah.
So once you were sort of in the midst of this TV show, was there anything that you found super surprising about being on a TV show at all? Like something maybe you didn't know, behind the scenes secret?
Well, it's a lot different than what you see at home. Anyway, all the cameras and everything while you're baking, it's a lot different than when you're just baking in the kitchen at home, obviously. But no, it wasn't. It was a lot of fun though. Yeah, it wasn't anything too surprising.
So when you get out there, I'm sure you guys are all super nervous. I mean, you guys are all sort of thrown into the same boat. You're the youngest kid there. Did you have extra nerves because you were like, I'm younger than all these kids, even though it's not much of an age difference, but maybe they had a little more experience?
Well, not really. I always like to work under pressure, and usually when I golf, I play against older kids, anyways. So I'm kind of used to competing against older kids, and I love it because more competition, the better for me.
Well, Nemo, we're going to take just a really quick break and we're going to actually take a peek at you upcoming on this season of the Food Network's Kids Baking Championship.
12 ambitious kid bakers are on a quest.
Who will win? Dun dun dun.
To rid the world of boring baked goods.
Beautiful.
Claim a spot in Food Network magazine.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
And 25,000 smackaroos.
Yes!
And for the first time ever,
Hi, parents.
Their parents are watching.
I'm proud of you. They're great.
I know you're watching. Can I please have a puppy?
No.
Peel the peach!
Peel the peach!
who doesn't peel peaches? Through the highs
I'm blown away. Kaylin.
and the lows. Burnt chocolate.
Oh man.
No. This is Kids Baking Championship.
I'm back with Nemo Tsai, a contestant on Food Network's Kids Baking Championship, which premieres on Mondays at 9 p.m. on Food Network locally. So we're a couple episodes in, and the second episode was not an easy episode for you, was it?
No, well, as you can see, if you watch the show, I had challenges during the second episode, but it was a lot of fun trying to fix it, believe it or not. And I was just really excited to come back next week and win the challenge with my blueberry cupcakes.
I don't know if this is like something you're allowed to talk about or not. Are you allowed to bring recipes with you? I don't know how you would remember how to bake something if you didn't have a recipe in front of you.
Oh no, we are not allowed to see recipes on the show. But when I was here at home getting ready for the show, I just all night you would just think about this recipe has this ingredient, this much, and then when you go on the show, you just gotta think of it off the top of your head.
Okay, that is much tougher than you'd think, because I was like, maybe there's some sort of secret, they let them have a recipe or something like that, but no, you just have to remember this stuff, which makes it even more difficult, I would think. I'm not a big baker, so I don't know a ton. I'll bake a little bit here and there, but so then we go on to the next episode, which is the Rainbow Challenge, and you have a partner this time. Did you like working with Jonah? Did that make it put you at a little bit more of ease during the show?
Well, Jonah was probably the person I talked to the most on the show, and I was really excited to bake with him. But at the same time, I know last week I didn't do too well, so I just wanted to do my best to try to redeem myself and just come back strong the next week.
I know I want one of your blueberry cupcakes. They look so yummy.
Anytime, anytime.
So then we just watched the episode that just premiered, and this one I think this has got to be a fan favorite episode where you are replicating savory dishes and making them into desserts.
Yeah.
And you had a little bit of trouble again, but it wasn't with your flavor profile, really. It was more about the look. You couldn't get the look spot on, even though I thought yours looked awesome. I thought it looked really cool.
Thank you.
So talk about what you were supposed to make and how it sort of ended up.
So I was assigned to make lunch, and for lunch I was assigned to make a Italian sub sandwich. And to start off with, I don't like dessert imposters at all. Decorating and trying to make things look good is not my forte. So I was not too excited about this right off the bat, but I thought Italian sub sandwich was pretty easy. But obviously, my pate choux dough for my bread didn't rise, and that was a problem. And I just didn't know what goes in an Italian sub sandwich. I've never had an Italian sub sandwich before. And then Val comes over to me and says, "There's no bacon in an Italian sub sandwich." I'm like, "What kind of sandwich doesn't have bacon to begin with?" And I'm like, "There's no way Val can stand between me and my bacon. I'm definitely gonna put bacon into it." But yeah, overall, it just went okay, and hopefully I can do better next week.
Yeah, I mean, you were close to being on the bottom. They edited it to make it seem like you might have been one of the bottom two. And I was like, not Nemo, you got to make it further. And I think your dad, which why don't we welcome Paul to the show, is there. And he's I think he's feeling the same thing I'm feeling, you're feeling, we're all feeling it at this moment, right? Hi, Paul.
Hi.
So why don't you talk about your sort of emotions that you're feeling as, those times where, Nemo is either on the bottom in that second episode or he's close to the bottom. Are you like, what are we going to do? Can we get him out of this? What's your thought process at this
I
time?
think, as a parent, the best thing you can do is just, try to not let them know how nervous you are, which is, I think, the toughest part. You don't want to make anything worse than it already is. And you, of course, always want to give them confidence. But boy, on the set there and as you watch him struggle, that's really hard, right? We're not actors, and so we don't know how to fake it. And so for us, it's just every moment is nerve-wracking, yeah.
Nemo, did you find some solace having your dad there with you?
Yeah, I liked my dad being with me. I felt like it was kind of cool to react, for him to react and see how I do in the kitchen. And he's my caddy on the golf course. So not gonna lie, I'm starting to get tired of him. But anyway, it was nice to have him on the show with me.
Yeah, it's almost the opposite now because on the golf course he's strong-willed, so he wants to kick me off the bag, meaning he wants to do what he wants to do. But on the show, I think it really was like a safety blanket to have the parents that close to them. So and you always have to remember, for Nemo, he was just 10. Yeah, he's just 10 years old. So I hope he still wants his parent at 10. Yeah.
I would hope so too. How did you feel sort of just being thrust into the spotlight? You weren't expecting to be a part of the show, Paul.
Right, and that's why it was a complete surprise. I think in talking amongst the parents during the show, and even as we finished filming and came back, we had no idea how large of a part we would play and how we would be included. And they were taking snippets of film and taking, we were all microphone. But we thought it would just be an add-in where, there would be small spots and they would just pan to the parent just to get a reaction and go right back. And so we're very surprised now at how the parents were incorporated. So, yeah.
Yeah, you had a decent sized role. So what can we tease the upcoming episode?
Oh, yes.
So, yeah.
So the next episode is going to be hand pies, which I'm really excited about because pies are one of my favorite things to make at home in general. And I'm just really excited for this episode. Yeah.
So why should people, maybe if they haven't tuned in yet or seen the show, why should they come check out you on Kids Baking Championship on the Food Network?
Well, it's just a really awesome and exciting show. There's a lot of suspense, and I hope everyone who tunes in cheers for me.
Did you want
I
to
just
add
wanted
anything,
to
Paul?
touch, yeah, I just wanted to touch upon. I think I don't know in the prologue to the show if they so they actually, because of the pandemic, normally all these shows are shot in a studio
It's
in
in like
LA.
a tent, right? It's a
Right,
tent.
but they took over a resort called Terranea, which is like a five-star resort, and then they built the tent that was the baking studio where all the kids were doing the baking right on the ocean. So it's actually quite remarkable when you're there because they it doesn't feel like it when they're filming, but that's sitting right next to the ocean. That tent is sitting, and of course they did all this and incurred all the costs that they were concerned about COVID. He was one of the first shows that the studio filmed when they came back because they had taken a hiatus because
Sure,
of the
yeah.
pandemic also, and so they were very concerned about safety. And I and all the parents, it was remarkable. There was quite a staff there that their entire job was to clean after the kids and clean up. They were very concerned about. We were COVID tested every 2 days, so every 2 mornings we would wake up and take a COVID test. So they were very diligent about keeping masks on, about keeping everybody safe. So it was gratifying as a parent to go out because we were certainly, because it was in August that we were there. So everybody was still very concerned about, especially out in California, where
Yeah.
COVID was. So we were relieved once we get there that how concerned about the environment the studio was. And so they made it as safe as they possibly could. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know because I think a lot of us, we're seeing more productions come back now, and we're like, how safe can you be? What is the protocol? So it's good. That's sort of a nice behind the scenes tidbit to know, especially because it is a kids show. You're working with kids. You want to make sure they're safe. I mean, that would be like my number one priority if I were one of the parents on the show. I'd be really concerned about that factor of it. So it's good to know that that was really a top priority for going into the production. And I will say, I have a 4-year-old daughter and she loves the show. It's so funny because I didn't know if she would like it or not
Uh-huh.
because it's sort of like, you're cooking it. I didn't know if she was just too little for it. And it's such a family friendly show that even your 4-year-old who's not cooking necessarily with you, maybe she'll bake with me here and there, she really is invested. And she was sad to see, I can't remember the girl that just got eliminated this past Monday, but she was sad to see her go. She did not want to see her go. So it
Uh-huh.
is like, it's one of those things. And I will say, you should get the whole family together and sit around on Monday nights or record it and watch it later and watch it as a family because it really is a fun family watch.
And we part of coming back, and as the show has premiered, we've been just very much overwhelmed by the support and attention here in Ann Arbor. At school, when he's on his school calls, the teachers have called. Our customers when he's at the restaurant. Well, we belong to Travis Point, the country club, and so many people have reached out to Nemo and reached out to the family. And I never realized, that the length and breadth of the show and how it touched so many people. So, and it's just that I've grown up here in Ann Arbor. I went to Forsyth. He's in Forsyth now, and so he's second generation. But we dearly love Ann Arbor, and we're very grateful to everything Ann Arbor has given back to us. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming on the show. And I will say that my house is rooting for you, Nemo. I don't know what happens, but we are rooting hardcore for you to take home that W.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for the
so
interview. I
much.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching and tune in next time to FYI.
So much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.